Good evening, everyone. I hope you're all having a good, productive day. So, today we all have gathered virtually to discuss a very general yet sensitive topic. And I think you all are aware of that, which is loopholes in the healthcare system. So, if I present my perspective on this, if you look at it, it might be a little complex to undertake or discuss about. But if we research and decode it systematically, it becomes really easy to solve and even to implement the challenges that we're facing in the healthcare system, especially in India. We're going to start with the individual sessions, and I want you all to majorly focus on the 5 A's. I'm going to elaborate that are basically awareness, access, absence of skilled workers, affordability, and accountability. So I want you all to build up on each other and ask questions. First up, I'm going to start with Varsha Sunil.
Hello everyone, this is Varsha. We know about the topic that is loopholes in the system, and I'm going to take up one topic first, that is loopholes in the judicial system. I'm going to talk about the crimes which are committed recent days or against women. So the crimes against women have been increasing in recent times. There are humpty number of reasons for the increase in crimes against women. The deep-rooted system of the society, gender discrimination, illiteracy, increased use of drugs, etc., are some of the factors. Though the government has enacted various legislations to protect women from the violence, the loopholes in the law pave way to increase violence against women. In addition to this, implementation of laws and access to justice has been delayed due to these loopholes in laws. Violence against women starts from the womb and ends only at death. Therefore, I have taken up this to examine the loopholes in the judicial system related to the women. There are various laws related to women which have the loopholes too. And yeah, one of the biggest example I would like to give is India's execution of 4 men for the gang rape and murder of a woman on a Delhi bus in 2012. That is nothing but nearby as case. It does send a strong message, but the fact that is it took 7 long years to deliver the justice and has exposed the loopholes in the judicial system that needs to be addressed today. So the brutality of the attack on the physiotherapy student had triggered spontaneous angry demonstration by tens of thousands of people over India and nationwide. So recurring rape incidents have shaken this collective conscience of the people. The nation evidently has had enough with such abhorrent cases. I have some statistics about these reported cases. Yeah, considering that nearly 34,000 rapes were reported in India in 2018, according to the official data, which itself is considered the tip of the iceberg. Yeah, that is too much. We can't expect more than that. 34,000, it is not a small statistic. So it is really a big thing and a big drawback in our country. So there are many more victims who are really scared to open up and say the crimes which are committed against them. And yeah, so the country has given a provision to open the law courts, that is family courts, and even fast track courts to give the justice as soon as possible. Almost 150,000 rape cases are awaiting trial in the country's dysfunctional criminal justice system. Indian police registered more than 32,500 cases of rape in 2017, according to the government data. However, tens of thousands of such cases remain stuck in courts, often hindering the victims and their families as they navigate the slow and cumbersome legal process. As in Nirbaya's case, they took 7 long years to give the justice against that girl who died due to that heartbreak or that rape incident. And in 2017, courts only disposed of about 18,300 such cases that is related to rape. Several such cases remain pending at the end of the year. It is so shocking that a country like India, which has high diversity, that is cultural diversity and adorable credentials, where women deities are worshipped ardently by millions of people, boasts such disgraceful record when it comes to serious offences against girls and women. The launching of the first ever National Register of Sex Offenders is one among the several steps initiated by India in recent times to stem the increasing number of rape cases. But questions remain same whether even these measures would be enough to tackle such obnoxious crimes. Facing public protests and political pressures after the attack, the government reformed some of India's antiquated laws on sexual violence and created fast track courts for handling rape trials that formerly could last more than a decade. I gave just one example. There are many cases which are being recorded in the system about the rape and many other crimes which are committed against women. There are many loopholes in the system, and this is one among them. The new laws prescribed harsher punishments for rapists and addressed new crimes including acid throwing and stalking a girl child or a woman. Disturbingly, even the tightening of the rules has failed to deter the rapist monsters. In recent times, string of sexual attacks have caused further outrage. The fact remains these stinging measures announced by the government have not proved to be effective as yet in this stemming the rot of the rape cases. Even today, in Bangalore, there was a case, Bengali girl was raped by five of the boys, and that was even recorded. Yeah, it was as brutal as the Nirbhaya's case. They had inserted, that bottle into her vagina, which is too much to say about that. Yeah, it is so harsh, and those victims are arrested, but I don't know whether the justice will be given or not, or they may take more than 5 or 6 years for to give the justice to the victims or the to arrest them or to give such punishment or to execute these rapists or many other people who supported them. Even two of the women supported those five people who committed this crime. This is so bad to hear. I got to know about this news yesterday night. Sorry, yesterday it was. Yesterday it happened. I guess I don't remember the time, but yeah, when I saw the news, I seriously it shattered me down. Yeah, while laws are in their place, there should be no laxity at the implementation level. This is where the sincerity of the authorities or whichever the party rules or the government which is under control will be put to the test. The Delhi victims' parents who fought a prolonged legal battle to get justice for their daughter at last got relieved. Yeah, even as more rape cases are reported, sadly, it remains hard for the victims to receive timely justice. Yeah, but yeah, there should be a space, or yeah, justice should be given within a small duration. If it exceeds, and what is the need of giving justice to the victims or the people who suffered under that incident, like rapes and other crimes? So, cases of crimes against women should be tried in the fast track courts within the defined time frame. And zero tolerance against a rapist should be the norm. The process of the law should not be slow and swift punishment for offenders in necessary. I've just told about the loopholes in the judicial system, but there are many loopholes in many other different categories in India. For example, educational system, in the politics and government services, etc. There are many, and even the officials or the policemen or the government, they just don't take seriously. If a girl goes to a police station to file a case against someone who has committed one crime, they take a lot of time and just ask that girl in detail, which makes that girl uncomfortable, or she might yeah, file a complaint or just goes back or just go back, because yeah, she might feel bad if a person speak about that crime in detail, or yeah, that is like an harassment in the officials. Yeah, there are many instances I can give. Yeah, even you, I guess there are instances, but many people face that. So only girls, if crimes are committed against them, they don't go to police stations or they don't file any complaint against any people. Yeah, by looking up by fear of the society and the fear of the words what others speak and all. Yeah, there are many things going like this, but we rarely get to know about all this. Only if a girl or a woman, if she comes out without any fear, and if she says the thing what has happened openly, until and unless a girl does that, nothing can be sorted out. And yeah, I've just told about the judicial system. Yeah, there are many loopholes in education system, government services, and the politics. There are many loopholes in the politics and the politicians. They rule methods, other things. So my words, my perspectives on the loopholes in this system, that is judicial system, is this. So yeah, thank you.
Yeah, Varsha, one thing I would like to mention. I guess you talked
Yeah,
about general loopholes in the system, which was obviously you presented it very well. The examples were great, very impressive overall.
yeah.
But it don't worry about it. But the topic specifically was loopholes in the healthcare system of today. I
Okay,
guess
since it was
you.
not specifically mentioned, I thought it was a general topic, so I spoke about this.
Yes, ma'am, I agree with that. But it was.
Yeah, exactly. She's right.
Have you all researched on general loopholes? I have prepared my healthcare topic, but it was not mentioned that you should be taking care of the healthcare only. All right, no worries. So we'll just proceed with that. Whatever you guys have researched about, it's no big of a deal. So next up, I guess Alpana, you can start.
First of all, I want to ask some questions to Varsha's topic about Varsha's topic.
Yeah. Please
Yeah,
continue.
sure. Yeah, sure.
Varsha, what is your call on the mm, death? Wait a minute. If what is your suggestion about the punishment for rape?
Yeah, of course, execution or yeah, the victims, sorry, the rapists should be hanged, of course, because they have no rights to live after they have raped. Because a person or a girl, she goes through a different phase that is really tough phase. Like if she is harassed or raped, it will be very difficult for a girl to live thereafter. She will be mentally broken down. So yeah, they should be executed until and unless this is done. Yeah, no other punishments are equal to this because yeah, they will have no rights if they commit such crimes.
Don't you think there will be loopholes in the punishment of hanging for rape? I have a point that in India there is a hanging punishment for murder only. The rapist would think that I should murder after rape, so he will be
Yeah,
hanged.
yeah.
Hanged for both the crimes. The girl might not have a chance to live. At least she has a chance after rape to live. At least she can complain if rapist
Yeah.
left her alive. I do believe that. Do you agree with my
Yeah, of
point?
course. Yeah, of course. I do agree with your point. What you said is 100% right. Like many of the rapists, they just murder that girl after they rape her. But yeah, if she is let or yeah, even after the murder, they should be hung, or else yeah, justice won't be served if they are not hung or you know.
Okay. Thank you so much, Varsha. I really appreciate your topic, and it was like a bunch of information for all of us.
Thank you so much.
Okay. So let me start with my topic. Hello, everyone. This is Arpana Goyal, and today I'm going to tell you about the 5 A's about the healthcare system of India. The Indian healthcare scenario presents a spectrum of contrasting landscapes. As you know that in some villages there are not proper infrastructure. There will be a small cabin of a doctor and not proper manpower to deal with the patient and not a proper transport also to reach the city and the proper infrastructure for proper healthcare. So there are contrasting scenarios about healthcare system in India. Now we will discuss the 5 A's which should be considered about the healthcare system of India. The first one is awareness or the lack of it. How aware is the Indian population about important issues regarding their own health? Studies on awareness are many and diverse, but in awareness appear to cut across the lifespan in our country. Adequate knowledge regarding breastfeeding practice was found in only one third of the antenatal mother in two studies. Moving ahead in the life cycle, a study in urban Haryana found that only 11.3% of the adolescent girls studies knew correctly about the key reproductive health issues. There must be health education and sex education about these topics in schools. Why the level of health awareness is low in Indian population? The answers may lie in low educational status, poor functional literacy, low access on education within the healthcare system, and low priority for health in the population, among others. Now we will talk about the second A, the access or the lack of it, access to healthcare. And again, when we look beyond the somewhat well connected urban population to the urban underprivileged and to their rural counterparts, the question arises, what is the level of access of our population to healthcare of good quality? You must have seen the movie Manji, or you have heard the story of Manji, the man who lost his wife due to lack of transport from his village to city hospital. So he dug out a whole path through a mountain. You must have known about it. Anyone don't know can tell the story. Manji was a man whose wife was in a critical condition and was pregnant, and she needed to be immediate hospital care. There was lack of transportation in their village, so he was taking her with a local transport like ghoda gadi or bail gadi, but there was no not a short path, not a proper road through their village. So he lost his wife due to delay in the treatment, and he took 22 years to dig out a whole path through a whole rock mountain. Can you imagine how worse can this be? The accessibility of healthcare sources and the lack of them. Now we will talk about third A, absence or the human power crisis in healthcare. Any discussion on healthcare delivery should include arguably the most central of the characters involved, the human workforce. Do we have adequate number of personnel? Are they appropriately trained? Are they equitably deployed? And is their morale in delivering the healthcare service reasonably high? As you all know that, first reason I believe is that very less number of medical colleges seats. Uh, there are lakhs of crores of students who give NEET entrance exam every year, but there are very less number of seats who for the students who can enter the college, medical college. And besides that, there I'm sorry, there is a very high amount of fees of management quota or private colleges fees. So students prefer to study abroad, or some students are not accessible to that even also. So I do believe this is the first reason, and the second reason is while the private sector accounts for most of the health expenditures in the country, the state-run healthcare sector is still is the only option for much of the rural. And you know they are very expensive, and there is a very rush in the government and civil hospitals. So people prefer to go to civil hospitals where there are large number of lines and they don't get that chance to meet the doctor. And if they prefer to go to a private hospital, there will be a lot of long bills and payments to be pending. Now we will move to the fourth A, affordability or the cost of healthcare. Quite simply, how costly is healthcare in India? More importantly, how many can afford the cost of healthcare? It is common knowledge that the private sector is dominant player in the healthcare arena in India. Almost 75% of healthcare expenditure comes from the pockets of households. Catastrophic healthcare cost is an important cause of impoverishment. Added to the problem is the lack of regulation in the private sector and the consequent variation in quality and cost of service. The public sector offers healthcare at low or no cost, but is perceived as being unreliable or indifferent quality and generally is not the first choice unless one cannot afford private care. Now we will discuss the fifth A, accountability or the lack of it. Being accountable has been defined as the procedures, processes by which one party justifies, takes responsibility for its activities. In the healthcare profession, it may be argued that we are responsible for a variety of people and consequences. We are responsible to our clients, primarily our patients, delivering the services that is their duty. our employers presume that the standard of service that is expected will be delivered. And you all know that the reaction of some villagers or some like it happened in rural parts. It is less in urban parts, urban hospitals. If someone has a hospital in a village or rural area, there might be aggressive relatives of a particular patient, uh, which can, like you who I told about an incident yesterday when a COVID patient died and the relatives of him destroyed the infrastructure and the sources. And people are really afraid to that this might be a reason to reachability of healthcare sector in rural areas. What are your thoughts on this? Thank you.
Yeah, it was very informative and greatly presented, Alpana. But I have one question. As you mentioned in your affordability paragraph, I have one question is India's healthcare is one of the most cheapest in the world, right? So what are your thoughts about on this, guys? It's a general question. Anybody can answer.
Can I answer that? Can I answer that?
Yeah, please.
Yeah, like I was supposed to go on my speech, so can I start with my thing?
Okay. Yeah, please do.
Okay, so it was the topic today was general flaws in the system. So I kind of prepared for everything in general, but then as you told, I'll shrink it to the healthcare system. So let's begin with what you told. Healthcare in India is one of the cheapest, agreed. But then you should also remember that India is home to about 260 million marginalized people, most of them living in utter poverty. So that's the level. So unless the costs are free, like for example, say if a person has cancer, minimum cost is like 3 to 4 lakhs to treat it and to survive. A person, a common man who struggles to eat 3 times a day doesn't have 3 to 4 lakhs to spend. So unless and of course the healthcare system of the country matches the level of lifestyle of the people, it is still inadequate. Done. It's out of the window. So maybe for a foreigner who comes from Germany or say the United States, it's cheap, but then no chance an Indian could afford even the Indian healthcare system. I guess I have answered your point.
Yeah, it was great. But also, as you said, if somebody has cancer, if somebody is suffering from cancer, the minimum cost goes 2 to 4 lakhs. But don't you think the skilled doctors, the hard work they put in, and the medications and the equipment, the technology that is, used in curing a disease or anything else in a treatment, how can that be minimized? It has already been minimized to a significant
It
level.
has been already minimized, as you told, but then the government, what else are they doing? We pay taxes to the government. They are supposed to look after our healthcare, our education, and every other social reformative aspects. So if they can't help us when we need 2 to 4 lakhs to cure our cancer, if they can't help us to survive, what are they for? Let the government help the poor people of the country. We have, I don't know about North India, like in South India, we have ration cards in different colors. Do you have it? Like, I'm not clear. Do you have it? Yeah, so
Everybody has
we
it.
have different card colors and yeah, I guess. So as per that, we can actually categorize, how much income a person has depending on the color of their ration card. So it's very simple to, give help to those who need it. If the government can't do it, then who can? Like, what are they supposed to do then? And
Yeah.
science is doing its part. The science is doing its part. Like, as you told, the costs have been cut down dramatically in the past few decades. And it's only going to come, lesser in the coming years. But then the government should also do, like, as I told, it's healthcare is already cheaper for a person coming from foreign countries. But then a person who can't eat 3 square meals a day, it's still very expensive, very expensive.
Yeah, valid point. I guess the
And
main problem of our country is just the population. The input and the output does not matches anywhere near, right? So I guess it's a
you
big
could say that, but then who is supposed to make it equal? Are the people themselves supposed to empower themselves magically? The government's supposed to do that.
yeah.
I'm not aligning myself with any political parties, whether it be the 60-year rule of the UPA government or the 7-year rule of the NDA. Both
Mhm.
are, equally failures in this aspects. Maybe like the past leaders, including Nehru, would have done it, like establishing IITs and government hospitals, serving for the public, having a socialist agenda
Yes.
on mind, but then currently it's not even there. It's not pakka, it's not there. It's just capitalism right now, which is rampant in India, everywhere from north to south. Even in Kerala, as you told, like I was coming to my next point. One of the loopholes, like the wealth disparity in Kerala. Kerala has one of the best healthcare systems in the country. You know, we have tackled the first wave pandemic. Our health minister was actually awarded some UNESCO awards or something. I don't exactly remember the name. So Kerala is lauded to have one of the best healthcare systems in the country, but then we have to pay 1,500 to 1,700 rupees for an RT-PCR test, which is actually only costing 500 to 700 bucks in Tamil Nadu, let's say our neighboring state. We are paying about $1,000 more to have an RT-PCR test done, and the government is doing free tests for some people, like the primary contacts and all. But if I want to check myself, I have to pay $1,000 more than what should necessarily be. And there have been, laws made to neutralize the impact, but then it's not been fully implemented. Like, there is loopholes in the laws itself. Again, as my friend Washa said, there is loopholes in the law. There is still private clinics, there is still private agencies which take up 1,500 bucks from you for an RT-PCR test. Whether it be an antigen test, it is costly than the other states in Kerala. But then Kerala has one of the best healthcare systems. So it's very ironic, but then that is one of the loopholes.
Exactly. I totally agree with your point. And also, have you all heard about AIIMS Delhi? It's like
Yes.
one of the best medical hospitals and college in the country has to offer. So it's like really, really cheap for the students. But again, if you're a doctor working there or a student working there, you cannot access the healthcare system. It's like the loophole. It's all. If we look at the COVID time scenario, all the beds are booked by uh, maybe like celebrities or um, political leaders or anything like that. So it's really sad.
Exactly. That is the loophole which is being exploited by the rich and the privileged. Like a common man could never walk into AIIMS and demand free beds. Like there's no availability, but then a celebrity or a privileged person could easily do that. That's another loophole which is being exploited. It is pakka exploited right now all across India. It has always been exploited. That is one of the fundamental flaws of democracy. But then more than ever so right now, with the corona crisis and everyone needing beds and hospitals and healthcare facilities. So yeah,
Yes.
the disparity between the privileged and the unprivileged is currently on display. Like in full fashion, it is currently on display.
Exactly.
So that is one of the other problems.
The privileged people of the society have like beds booked in best of the best hospitals like AIIMS and everything for like 10 days for a foolish fever that could be cured at home and is not even of a symptom of a COVID, to be honest. And people who are like really suffering from hypoxia or any other conditions like edema or something, they are getting in the waiting, they're waiting in the line to be admitted. Like that's a really, really sad case, I would say. I guess we'll move on to Pankudi. Rohit, you can present after her. She's actually having some network issues.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, so Pankudi, you can start.
Thank you, Hargun. Am I audible?
Yeah, you're audible.
Okay. Hello, everyone. Good evening. So today we will be discussing about loopholes in the system. So the coronavirus crisis has brought India's public health system to its knees. Scenes of hospitals running out of beds and public searching desperately for life-saving oxygen or critical medical supplies for their loved ones have become the major headlines of most of the country. Now, what is the reason behind it? Why India is facing such crisis? So to that, I would say it's because of low attention to healthcare system, lack of political investments are some of the main reason of this crisis. If I talk about another reason, so it's low allocation to healthcare. For several decades, health system in India have not received the respect and resources they deserve. If I tell you about public financing of health sector, so it's around 1% of the GDP. Central government as well as the state governments have low allocation in budget towards healthcare. If we compare the expenditure, so US nearly spent 17% of its GDP on public healthcare, while France and Germany spent more than 11% of their GDP. And I would like to mention here that this data is not by me, it's according to the data from the World Bank. If you compare India to the rest of the BRICS nation, that is Brazil, Russia, India, China, and South Africa, so you will find that India has spent the least on healthcare in 2018. Say is the lack of political will. India's second wave began around February and accelerated through March and April, and the virus spread rapidly due to the lack of wearing masks at religious festivals and political rallies that attracted large crowds in various parts of the country. Never mind that it was wealthy Indians returning from vacations abroad who first brought the virus into their posh apartment complexes, not the class of service workers who tend to the needs of the former. The muted response of the media in offering any criticism of the poor decision of the Indian government reflects the same instinct for myopia self-preservation at the cost of the lives of others. In my perspective, no offense, but I think during lockdown, India has enough time to ensure the healthcare and other issues raised by coronavirus. But Government of India and its officials were busy in conducting elections and some other work. Yes, I totally agree that for a democratic nation like India, elections are very important to be held. But the government should understand that time was not suitable for elections. As I have earlier mentioned, due to political rallies, the cases have increased so much. People were attending the rallies without wearing masks, and there was no sign of social distancing, of course. That is why cases have increased, and the country stutters with the maximum number of cases. It is now on the system to improve the healthcare arrangements and save the lives of people dying due to the lack of resources and oxygen. That said, this is all I want to say. Thank you.
Amazing stats presented, Pankari. Very impressive. So now we're gonna start with Rohit. Please present your research.
Yeah, so I actually said some of my points before, and then coming to my next points, the loophole set in the system is actually inherent in any of the democracy in the world. Like, no system is out of failures. It's bound to happen. Even a monarch, if you say so, it's even flawed, even more flawed than a democracy. But then a democracy still has its own problems. Like, it takes time. It has a bureaucracy to go to, and if the people in bureaucracy is measured by academic tests, they are failures. The bureaucracy, many of the people in the bureaucracy are failures. They can't do their job properly. They are taking long time to do it, which causes red tapeism. If you're familiar with the term, it causes red tapeism, which actually, the files are, I don't know how you explain it. The files are, tied with the red tape, and it just kept there with the red tape on it. And that's called red tapeism. It actually delays any decision-making process in a democracy, which is, critical when it comes to healthcare, because lost time is never gained, and you can't get a life back in that lost time. So that is one of the other flaws, which is fundamentally wrong, even in the judiciary or the executive, as my friend Varsha said. I would like to add on to her point. It's not just the females. Let's look at the males. Like, people are beaten, lynched to death in the North India. I completely agree with your point. I'm just adding on to it. I know it could cause potential debate that I am trying to undermine the struggles of the female, but no, never. I'm just adding on to it. And then let's look at the rich and privileged. Let's say yesterday, who dominated the news? Mehul Choksi, a billionaire who ran away from India with millions of debt. He's just vanished into thin air. And who's to blame for it? The system. But then, can we do anything? No, absolutely, because the system is inherently flawed. It's not about the governing body, it's about the system itself. No, I don't think any government could actually, have a pakka perfect system. Maybe, this running away in debt, that would not be possible in a monarch, because he has absolute power, and he doesn't have to consult anybody regarding his decisions. But then he will also have his own limitations. Maybe, in other aspects, it will backfire in spectacular fashion. Like, monarchs are, known for being oblivious to human right violations. So there is also that aspect. So every system is inherently flawed. And in a country like India with 1.2 billion population, you have that much people to look after. So such a mass comes with such a responsibility, and the people here, the authorities, the governance, is not up to it. Simply put, it's not up to it. So it causes like massive falls in their place, and subsequently the people are suffering for it. The voters are suffering for it, but then they just don't have a better option to it. Like, they can only vote one of the two parties in power in the center, maybe some another two parties in the state levels. That's it. Nothing else. No option in democracy. That is it. The Indian democracy is failing its people, in fact. So The problem is inherently with the system itself, not particularly a department like the health department or the judiciary. It's just inherently in the system. It's in the constitution. So that's it.
Yeah, love the research, Rohit. Very eclectic and very informative, I would say. And I totally agree with your point that you mentioned. The in every system, every government of the country is like flawed, right? As you said, in-depth corruption and loopholes do exist in the US government as well. I guess even more than the Indian government. So yeah, great. Well done, I would say. Next
Thank
up
you.
we have next up we have Ravina.
Yeah. Hi, everyone. So, today we are talking about loopholes in the healthcare system. COVID 19 is surging drastically throughout India, disrupting big cities like Mumbai and devastating rural areas where there is extreme poverty and hardly any healthcare. People are waiting outside hospitals where there are no longer any beds or even oxygen. COVID 19 has strained it to the breaking point and beyond, driving people from villages and smaller cities into bigger urban centers that are already unable to manage the surge of patients. The pandemic has exposed the inadequacy of private healthcare and importance of spending and strengthening public healthcare. In the long term, the government will have to re-evaluate and drastically improve upon the funding in public healthcare infrastructure. The coronavirus pandemic has taken a toll on everybody, doctors as well as patients. And the gaps in essential infrastructure and drugs and health facilities is visible. An overstressed frontline workforce is bravely trying to compensate for systematic deficiencies. The health system we had visualized for independent India and the one we have at present are very different. So, what's the solution for this? As we start to move out of the second wave of COVID 19, we must not forget that hard lessons that this experience has taught us. We have to build back a stronger health system with better capacity. We have to work toward a fairer health system that has explicit intentions to work towards a more equitable society. That's all. Thank you.
Very well,
मैम something.
yeah. Please go ahead.
रवीना, आप हमें क्या बता सकते हैं किस कंट्री के हेल्थ सिस्टम इंस्पायर होकर चेंजेस करने चाहिए? Good question.
I think Russia.
Focus on from Russia and adapt them.
क्योंकि वो बहुत सारा अमाउंट अपने हेल्थ केयर पे स्पेंड करते हैं, जैसे कि इंडिया नहीं करता है। हेल्थ केयर पे इंडिया इतना ध्यान नहीं देता है, तो हमें रशिया से सीखना चाहिए कि हेल्थ केयर इज एज मच इम्पोर्टेंट और उतना ही स्पेंड करना चाहिए।
Actually, Ravina, India's healthcare system, if I, talk about the quality of it, is amazing, even better than any other country, But it's just the input-output ratio, the gap between it is just so wide, we can't fill up exactly. So it's like the population of India, as Rohit mentioned, as Varsha mentioned, and everybody else, the population of the India is the main problem of it, right? And we, Alpana again said, the NEET qualification criteria, they are just mad competition out there, all because of the population again. So I think India's healthcare system is great, but again, the population is the main, problem.
Also, I would like to add on to Ravina. Like, I think India's, like, if I'm not wrong, and I don't think I'm wrong, India's healthcare system is in fact, modeled after Russian, like, the socialist principle. Like, I remember reading somewhere that Nehru was greatly inspired by the socialistic principles of the Soviet Union. So, in fact, yeah, it is like up to a part, India's healthcare system, which is currently present, is kind of inspired from Russia as well as some other countries. When the first government took power, they decided to go with a mixed economy instead of a socialist or a capitalistic. And yeah, like Nehru was a big fan of USSR economy, the socialistic principle. So yes, I think it's modeled after USSR or Russia.
What do you think about the Germany healthcare system then?
I don't think like I'm fully capable of making a
Yeah,
comment on
that's
it because I'm not in depth and analyzed about the German healthcare system. But if their education system is anything to go by, it's excellent because they provide free education up to graduation level. So it's free education for everyone. So I think if their healthcare model is also, similar to their education model, it's excellent. It's
Yes,
bravo.
yes,
I
yes,
would
it
like
is.
to add on to this. Like I believe the countries like Germany, America are providing free healthcare services to poor and the old population, but they have high taxes for their population on everything, on necessary goods, on clothes shopping, on income tax. But there are low taxes in India as well. Besides, there is good healthcare system, but there is a gap between income, transportation, rural urban gap.
Yeah. Like in America, if you wanna access the complete good quality healthcare system, you got to have a particular insurance, and it's very costly. Not everybody can afford it. So India, I feel like in that aspect is doing amazing, providing free healthcare system, everything.
India's very popular doctor, I don't remember the name, I'm sorry, has proposed to government and it is applied like 10 rupees per month health insurance. Can you believe that? How cheap it is? It is arranged for poor population and even they can afford it. I do believe that.
Wow, I wasn't aware.
But the real question is, will the government provide the insurance when it comes to that? Like, I'm highly doubtful. They are like, promising a lot of things, but then are they delivering it? Where's my
Yes,
15 lakhs in
yeah,
my
yes,
account? I have not
the
got it.
hospital of that doctor, I don't remember the name. I have heard about it in Abhiyan news video, and you know how much reliable those videos are. You know the 12% of successful heart surgeries are performed in the hospital of that doctor.
Are you talking about Dr. Devi Shetty?
Yes, yes, I guess.
Uh, yes, I'm
Yes,
a big fan, I would say. Yeah, so let's move on to next. Anushka, you can present with your topic. Am I audible?
yes,
Yes, Harman, you're audible.
Anushka, can you hear me?
Yeah, you're audible. Hello.
Yeah. Please go on.
Oh, okay, thank you. Good evening, all of you. As we know, today's our topic of discussion is loopholes in systems. As you told about the loopholes in healthcare system. So basically the loopholes means the defect. What is the flaws in and defects in the Indian system? As we know, India is tagged as the mother of the so many inventions, zero, algebra, the value of pi. In fact, the uniqueness of the ethnicity of the country is the factor that makes it different from the other nations because of its population. Is the one of the poorest country in the world based on the our income and our gross production. And even India can call the golden bird in olden days because we know it was too much healthy, wealthy, and happy. And that time, the people living there was too much healthy, wealthy, and happy. But now we can say that we are seeing that the people living in India is not that much happy as compared to olden days because nowadays we are all adopting the we know there is many loopholes in the system like corruption, healthcare loopholes, poverty, and population. I think population is the main loophole in our system. As we know, India is the second country which I think its population is about 137 crores. As much I population is the one of the most efficient loophole of the system, and women's safety is too, as one of my friend Varsha told about it here, that there are 6 November in 1949, and the effective date that they come on the force on 26 January 1950. All the Constitution of India is a unique constitution, and it is the largest and liberal constitution. It is too flexible, as we know. So there is many loopholes, there is many defects. As I think that there is the root cause of all loophole is the education. I'm not saying about the bookish knowledge, but the education. If we think thoroughly about we can connect all loopholes together, as the education system, poverty, unemployment, corruption, all are interconnected. So can even ever we thought about what is the root reason behind all these loopholes? Can we even think about it? So I think we all discussed about the all loopholes. I want to just give my perspective on the what is the reason behind it. So I think it is good to give bookish knowledge to everyone, but I am not talking about for bookish knowledge, but doubtlessly it is important to give moral values and ethical values too. I think education rules for their further study, where they get all knowledge about all events. Even they got bookish knowledge. They taught all about the physics, they all about chemistry, and all about our system. And that I am saying that the source that science giving us is not wrong, but it is in our hand how we use. So as we know, that all 24/7 using social media. One side, government wanted that their youth should be good, and their youth, they are all saying, as we know, youth are the future of the India. So there we all using the social media 24/7, but there is no exceed, there is no limit how much irrelevant content is showing on the social media. There is no limit, there is no bans. What things on presenting on that? I think you all may be aware of that how much irrelevant informations are showing nowadays on the social media. As lockdown for last year, all are using social media, even just all said through phone, we all can distracted. This is the reason that the youth is distracted in these days. One side, government want to youth be like good in all aspects, and all they doing this is not right. They want society should be free from addiction. One side, they are giving relief in the selling of addicted things like wine, as we all know, and also we know any defects in system. As we know, everything can't be perfect. There is some defect in everything. So there are many defects, many loopholes in the Indian system too. But doubtlessly there is also some defect. But we must remember that it can't be the only responsibility of the government to do some correction in this. We all the part of it. So I think we have to cooperate and we have to do it by ourselves. We can't see the world, but we can change ourselves because it is well said that charity begins at home. So I think as we all discussed about all loopholes, we all discussing about all loopholes that there are many defects in system. There this type of education system, this type of healthcare system, problem of population, but we all blaming on the system. But we have to remember somehow we all are the reason behind that. and we are not doing well. That's why in these days, I think we have to learn from the corona, what corona taught us in last days. So I think we can't do anything in government to do this and to change it, but we can do it by our own, that we support it by efforts. So this is all from my side. I think it could be more exceeded, but it's my perspective on this matter. Thank you so much.
Yeah. It was very great, Anushka. I love how you incorporated mathematics in your initial para. It was very creative, I must say. And I totally agree with your moral ethics education point. It was well done. So, I see there's this one member who is new to this. Namya, can you hear me?
And I want to ask a question.
Yeah. Go ahead.
Can anyone support ki these are the values, ethics, and morals must be added with our education system to enlighten all?
Sorry, can you repeat that again?
Means, as I told there, we need to add morals, ethics in our education system to enlighten all as the youths of India. With our education system, more than means, or can say added with the bookish knowledge too. What all you can say?
See, from my personal experience, I would just say till 12th, honestly, there was no, short moral education, ethical education that we were provided. To be honest, it was again quite bookish. But as I started with my first year in this medical system, I've, in the colleges, we're all very much encouraged to kind of get into moral debates, ethical issues, talk about it, join seminars and webinars. So I guess it has been great, but if it was a little bit earlier, it would have been more great. Yeah. Anybody else who would like to add?
Yeah, anybody can add. I want to listen from everyone.
Yeah.
I love the way I love the system of Japanese schools where the students are taught to be like moral till their fourth class. You know, they have to clean their whole classroom on their own. They are taught to sit, to get up, and like to follow the morals and ethics that are taught by teachers and parents. And I think this is a great step we can adapt from Japanese schools. And I hope you all agree to this.
Can you elaborate more on Japanese school system? I am not really aware of it.
It's like
Yeah. I'm also.
जापानीज स्कूल्स में फोर्थ स्टैंडर्ड तक बच्चों को खुद अपनी क्लासरूम क्लीन करनी रहती है इन असिस्टेंट ऑफ अ टीचर और अ पीपल और सम एडल्ट and they are like taught to sit stand like to follow the right commands from teachers, good touch, bad touch, and these things, you know, ethics and morals, basic ethics and morals. Fourth standard till fourth standard. I think now you can understand.
Yeah. You're right.
Excuse me, ma'am.
I think this was the ancient education system in which all things are added, but nowadays these are not in our system.
Yeah, but she just mentioned we can adapt to it. You know, she just gave an example. I guess it was great.
Yeah, yes.
Namya, because you're new to this, I would just like to, you know, tell you about what we do here and what all work you're supposed to do. So basically, your work is to, you know, research on the topics that are provided to you in the group. You know, I hope that you've joined the group.
Yeah.
and your work is to basically actively participate in this interacting session, present your topics and just discuss, like that's it. And have you prepared today's topic?
No, I didn't knew. Actually, I was joined today in the group, so I wasn't knowing that I had to prepare
Yeah.
something.
That's completely fine. Take it as a trial, that's completely fine.
Yeah,
From this session, please be prepared.
yeah. I got to know today that what is about to be happening in this class and all stuff.
Yeah, that's completely fine. It's okay. So I guess we're all done here, and I think I'll just conclude the call now. So thank you everyone for your valuable inputs and thorough research. I'm very, very impressed with the competence and with this amazing debate session that we all had today. It was very informative, honestly, very new perspective, and everything was just unique and fabulous, I would say. So, yeah, have a good day, guys.